I swapped out my hoops for my guillotine earrings, so you know what this video is going to be about. Some of y'all know that I'm a huge fan of author Rebecca Solnit. Her book, Hope in the Dark, has been really, really important to me this year, especially. I follow her on Facebook, and she offered a gift article to a New York Times opinion piece a couple of days ago. And I want to share that article with you. It's entitled, "The Billionaires Have Gone Full Louis XV." I want to read some of it and then offer some commentary. It is by Michael Hirshhorn, and I think he makes some good points here. Billionaires had a great thing going. The ruling in the 2010 Citizens United case, among others, invited the super rich to exert all the influence on policy and politics that their money could buy, and then enjoy all the wealth that influence secured for them in return. Thanks to ever more obliging tax policies, the billionaire class grew absurdly rich over the years that followed. In the last 5 years alone, the 20 wealthiest Americans have increased their worth from $1.3 trillion to $3 trillion, according to Forbes. Oxfam is another great source that tracks the wealth disparity in the US and around the world. And the billionaires did this in many cases without the rest of us even having a clue. After all, it took investigative reporter Jane Mayer 5 years of relentless digging to figure out how the Koch brothers gained a chokehold on the Republican Party. The title of her 2016 book, Dark Money, became synonymous with a particularly effective form of influence that was all but untraceable. The billionaires could have kept on like that forever. All they had to do was keep their mouths shut. Today, billionaires are still flooding politics with their money and still reaping the benefits, and they won't stop yapping about it. As you continue to listen, I want you to think about one of my favorite topics, the backlash effect. Every terrible thing the regime and the super rich try to do, how do we make it backfire on them? Elon Musk bragged about his support for President Trump, whose campaign and allied groups he donated more than $250 million to. He loudly attempted to buy votes in Pennsylvania. Then he leveraged it all into a cruel and chaotic effort to dismantle federal agencies through Doge. Mark Andreessen's tech-heavy venture capital firm publicly pledged $100 million to target lawmakers who want to regulate AI. By the way, I'm skipping around a little bit in this article, just so you know. Bill Ackman announced that he and his pals were prepared to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to defeat Zoran Mamdani. He also urged Donald Trump to send in the National Guard to New York if Mamdani got elected. And look how Donald Trump takes orders from these guys. And all the while, the billionaires are out there lecturing us about their fitness routines, their weird personal philosophies, their conspicuous consumption, and more. Jeff Bezos staged a 3-day celebrity-packed $50 million wedding to Lauren Sanchez. I've done 2 videos on that. The whole cringe affair was optimized for global paparazzi interest. Mr. Ackman is advising young men to try the line, "May I meet you?" That sounds like some cringe pickup artist shit. A strategy that, in his own experience, said almost never gets a no. Oh God, billionaires are so good. Not only do we have the cringiest fascists, we have the cringiest oligarchs. Owning the world is not enough for these people. They must also go in search of the cheap high of influencer culture. But no amount of aura maxing can hide the new reality. Just 6 years ago, 69% of Americans in a Cato poll agreed that billionaires earn their wealth by creating value for others. I'm really shocked that we ever believed that nonsense. Okay. And only a slightly smaller majority agreed with the statement that we are all better off when people get rich. That is the myth of the pull yourself up by your bootstraps. If you work hard, you too can become a billionaire narrative that we are all fed in this country. Have a vicarious experience through a billionaire. Defend him because you also want to be a billionaire. You want to put yourself in his shoes. You could never be like him, but you want to fantasize about it, and therefore you will defend him. That's been going on in America for a long time. If you just look at MAGA in my comments on Facebook, whew, these guys will simp for billionaires all day long. But attitudes are changing, because today, one poll after another shows that Americans want the rich to be taxed even higher, much higher than they are currently. Senator Bernie Sanders and also Rep. AOC have attracted an increasingly large national following with an anti-billionaire message that would have previously sounded extremist. Well, previously as in, the last couple of years, but not in terms of the history of this country. Before Ronald Reagan, the super rich were taxed very heavily. Also, keep in mind, Zoran Mamdani was just elected mayor of New York, and he doesn't think billionaires should exist at all. We agree on that. They should be taxed out of existence. And the billionaires only have themselves to blame. It's as if the sheer scale of this wealth, which beggars even the riches of the Gilded Age, has introduced a kind of class sociopathy. Peter Thiel, the crucial funder of J.D. Vance's Ascent, talks extensively about his desire to escape democracy in favor of some kind of bizarre techno-libertarian future. Balaji Srinivasan, the investor and former crypto exec, calls for tech elites to take control of cities and states and to build their own and run them as quasi-private entities. These men are so desperately empty. They're so desperately empty. I think we should stigmatize billionaires. Something is broken in them. Something is abnormal. It is not normal and healthy to want to be like this, to amass that quantity of wealth, to try and take that kind of control over other people, the way they dehumanize all of us. We are not human beings to them, the way they are disconnected from their humanity. It's really fucking sick. It's not normal. Alex Karp, who, along with Peter Thiel, founded the military intelligence company Palantir, they made their billions off our tax dollars, by the way, shared his predictions about an apocalyptic clash of civilizations, pausing to brag, "I think I'm the highest ranked Tai Chi practitioner in the business world. We have the cringiest fascists and the cringiest oligarchs, y'all." In another era, this would all be laughable. But as the MAGA moment emboldens them to drop any pretense of civic virtue and just go full will to power, their nutty ideas are now borderline plausible and terrifying. These people are whip smart. I don't necessarily agree that they are whip smart. A lot of them have inherited their money. A lot of them have people blowing smoke up their asses all day long. They're wealthy, but that does not in any way make them intelligent. I could talk about my 1 degree of separation from Peter Thiel and how I know he's not actually that smart. Why can't they see how badly they're coming off? Perhaps it's because the super rich have allowed themselves to become increasingly isolated. An ever more stratified scale of luxury allows the staggeringly rich to avoid coming into contact with even the merely wealthy, let alone the rest of the world. Chuck Collins of the Wall Street Journal said that allows them to glide through a rarefied realm unencumbered by the inconveniences of ordinary life. He said, "Wealth is a disconnection drug that keeps people apart from one another and from building authentic, real connections and communities." That's exactly what I think. These men are desperately disconnected from their humanity, from how real people live. They're constantly trying to stuff that hole inside of them with money and power and control. Billionaires control the cable channels, social media platforms, newspapers, movie studios, and essentially everything else that we consume. But for their own information sources, they are more likely to trust their own kind. Semaphore documented one ultra-exclusive group chat that included Mr. Andreessen and Mr. Srinivasan, amongst others, in which the self-reinforcing discourse is reported to have pushed many Silicon Valley tycoons toward right-wing politics. They basically create like a giant circle jerk where they're all gaslighting and indoctrinating each other. They operate in this very insular bubble where they're only communicating with each other, and they're pushing all these fringe ideas on each other, reinforcing, sane-washing them. Such disconnection goes a long way to explaining why billionaires can't grasp how the real world is convulsing outside of their well-secured gates. And convulsing it is. According to the most recent edition of the Harris poll, for the first time, a majority of Americans believe billionaires are a threat to democracy. A remarkable 71% believe that there should be a wealth tax. A majority believe there should be a cap on how much wealth a person can accumulate. A realignment may be underway. The recent push for the Epstein files, a previously unimaginable collaboration between conspiracy-addled MAGA true believers and anti-corporatist Democrats, was seen as the latest sign. At a moment when income inequality, the looming threat of AI, I don't think it's a threat, I think it's a bubble that's about to burst, and the rise of authoritarianism seem to be straining American societal cohesion, a revolt against self-dealing elites may be the only cause compelling enough to bring us back together. The favor of billionaires in some cases is more of a liability than a blessing. Lately, once the money of the private jet set enters a campaign, the stink of the oligarchy sticks to the campaign, and the candidate is perceived as a corporate tool. Historian Robert Darnton describes a similar moment during the French Revolution. The preconditions were all there: suffocating top-down control of the media, rapid technological change, let-them-eat-cake behavior, weaponized religious bigotry, mansions with hideously de trop ballrooms. Okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene is not quite Voltaire, but there was a pedophilia scandal involving Louis XV. the public speculated on the king's supposed never-ending supply of teenage girls, it would have all fit right into TikTok. Reverence turned into mockery, mockery begot contempt, and then, well, that story didn't end well, and this one may not either.